This tank is the AMX-30. This is a French Tier 9 medium tank. The map is Malinovka. I am going to get 8,000 spotting damage in this game, but will it be enough to pull a win? We'll find out. Now, this is probably with the World of Tanks 1.0 map, so it's going to be a little bit of a different positioning than previous maps. Because it's a medium tank, it's a lot larger than a light tank, so therefore I'm not going to go as far at the beginning of the game because I can be spotted a lot more easily. And also there was an enemy light tank that we had to deal with. You'll notice that the enemy light tank did flee, which means it allows me to advance a little bit further, but I have to do so very cautiously because, like I said, I could easily get spotted. I do have binocs with this tank, which substantially increases my spotting range. And I do like the AMX-30. It's a wonderful tank, and as I've said, I like it a lot better than the Leopard, which is very similar to it. Because of the crew perk, I believe it's called designated target, if you point your gun towards an enemy tank, they stay spotted for 2 extra seconds. So I keep my gun pointed towards enemy tanks at all times. Now, if you look, there's a T-54 lightweight, which is nearby, so he could easily spot me, so I have to stay in this position. There's also a Jag Tiger directly in front of me. I have to wait until he's done with before I can advance, or I have to be smart enough to know when he's reversed on the hill before I can advance. Other than that, the other tanks are far enough away that I can advance at some point. So I'm going to sit here and wait for that T-54 lightweight to be taken out of the game. I was able to spot that T-54E1. The score is 0-0. We have a T-54 lightweight, which should have a good spotting range and good camo, but you notice he's in the G1 area, and he's not in a good position at all. He's not doing anything effectively for our team. So we've got a Waffenträger who just showed up, which is a new threat, and the T-54 lightweight. It looks like the enemy has taken the hill, and our team never made it to the hill. They're at the base of the hill. So now I'm actually in a pretty good spotting position, and it's actually good for me to remain here until these threats are taken out. And you don't want to move. You want to stay perfectly still if you have binocs, because if you move your hull, the binocs will reset, and you'll have to wait 2 or 3 seconds before they turn on again. So I don't want to have that gap. I only got 2,200 spotting damage at this point. You can see that we've advanced into the enemy base. We have an M46 Patton near the enemy base. If he were smart, he would line up to take shots on that T-54 lightweight. You can see that the enemy is also advancing into our sniping position in the C5 area. There's a lot of enemy tanks. We're on the red line in the north. The enemy is in a pretty strong position. We are encircling them, but they're not moving fast enough. The M46 Patton should have moved a lot faster to take up a better position, and same with the T-54 lightweight. The T-54 lightweight easily could have gone to the I-0 area and sniped the enemy from behind. Score is 2-4. I got 2,700 spotting damage. There's a button on the keyboard. It's the T button, and when you hit the T button, it targets an enemy tank and it makes him blink on the minimap. And I do that when I see an easy target for the SPG, or if I see an easy target that I want my allies to notice. An easy target will be something that's stationary, something that's out in the open. You can see that the enemy is advancing. It's 3 to 7. Our SPG should have gone into the south a long time ago. He's in the A2 area. Yeah, he waited too long to reposition. I'm up to 3,200 spotting damage. I was wondering why our Jagdtiger never took a shot at that Waffenträger. He should have had an open shot. If he didn't, he should have repositioned until he did. It should be within his range. It's poor positioning. You notice that the T-54 lightweight is still in a poor position. The M46 Patton took too long to reposition. And now the enemy is starting to approach our base. One person is pointing out that we had 3 tanks that could have gone onto the enemy cap. Getting onto the enemy cap is a good strategy because it splits the enemy team. Some of the enemy team has to withdraw to go defend the cap. Now it's 4 to 11. I got 4,800 spotting damage. 5,600 spotting damage. I'm doing the best that I can. I'm spotting really well for the team. But we don't have enough guns in the game. 6,200 spotting damage. It's better to hold my fire and let my allies do all the damage. That was 1,178 damage on that T-54. That's why it's very important to hold your fire, let your allies do the firing. Now from here I could easily reposition and take shots on those tanks behind me. That was 702 spotting, 702 damage on the Waffenträger, and we did kill that Waffenträger. So I'm up to 8,100 spotting damage. They are capping us. They are approaching my position. It's only a matter of time before they spot me. So even with 8,100 spotting damage, we weren't able to win the game. You can see he's pointing his gun towards me. Took too long to react. Stay low and run away. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get away. I wish I could. I should have kept on running. I wanted to take up another spotting position. Like I said, I should have kept on running. That was a big mistake that I made. And the base was captured. That was 8,100 spotting damage. This tank is the AMX 1390. This is a French Tier 9 light tank. The map is Malinovka. There were some changes. This is World of Tanks 1.0. There were some changes to the map, so we have to have learned some new techniques. But this is my first spotting run, looking for the best bush. I decided to go for this middle bush. Let's see if I make it. I am going to get 6,500 spotting damage. I actually think it's going to be more like 7,000 spotting damage. But notice I was able to make it to the bush. I'm completely concealed. I am worried about this tank spotting me. Oh yeah, I remember this game now. The ally got behind me and he got spotted. So because he got spotted, he gave up my position. I took a lot of incoming damage, more than I should have because of that tank. I had to literally push him out of the way. And he really hurt our team by doing what he did. I now only have, it looks like 3 hit points. So I got 3,200 spotting damage. He really hurt me by what he did. He almost killed me. And he would not have had any advantage by being in this spotting position. He's certainly not going to compete with me for range because I've got obviously the binocs and the situational awareness and the recon I got to add coded optics. He should have gone somewhere else. Now you notice I'm tracking an enemy tank, and the reason why is because if you have, I believe it's called designated target, you get an extra 2 seconds to keep that tank lit. However, I don't know if my allies will also keep him lit, or if it's just for me. It's not specified in the game, in the documentation. You can see that a lot of the enemy tanks have made their way towards the hill. At some point, this spotting position is no longer going to be good, and I'm going to have to leave. But you should make it a point to try and make it to this position. And you could probably do so with a lot of fast medium tanks also, and a lot of fast tank destroyers. You notice I got 4,000 spotting damage. It's more than the damage I could do in the game. I've decided that the targets have dried up, so I'm advancing. Turn the binocs on, find a spotting position, and turn those binocs on. I'm going to maneuver through those bushes. Spotted a new tank. 5,200 spotting damage. I got 1,100 spotting damage on that Rom Borsig. Now from here I could obviously advance forward a little bit more. Get those binocs turned on again. If I'm spotting tanks, I'm not going to move. I'm going to sit in this position until my allies take out those tanks. Score is 3-1. I got 5,188 spotting damage. Now, if you have 2 spotters, there's 3 spotting positions on this map. There's no reason why 2 of us should be in the same position. You have in the south where the E50 and the IS-3 is. You have where I am and the ELC, which is the middle of the map. And then you have the northern town, where a spotter can go through the town, and it has to be active spotting. You have to keep moving. You'll notice that the enemy has won the hill. The score is 6-1. It looks like I can advance from this position. I could probably advance without being spotted, but we're going to wait until this guy's taken care of first. Hopefully my team will take him out. At some point I'm going to advance. I'm going to stay low. And I'm going to look for another bush to spot in. The smart thing to do, there's a lot of tanks up on the hill. I want to go spot those tanks. There's like 5 or 6 tanks up on the hill, enemy tanks. So there's more hit points for me to spot up on that hill. It doesn't make sense for me to spot the tanks at the enemy base. He's moving behind a building, so once he's behind the building, I'm not going to be able to spot him anymore. So now at this point I decided to return back to the north. Like I said, there's a lot of hit points up there, a lot of enemy tanks up there. I'm going to go across the water. So I'm going to go spot for my team. On the mini-map, it will show you where the shallow water is. So you want to avoid going into the deep water, especially if you have a light tank. Now the question is, where do you get a good spotting position? The ideal position to be is where the VK4502 is. From there I'll get a clear line of sight up on the hill. Now, this is assuming that the enemy tanks are planning to come down the hill. It's possible that they might be returning to their base. We don't know it at this time. So I'm already starting to spot for the hill. We got 6,400 spotting damage. I believe that there's going to be an extra 500 spotting damage that's going to be added on in the post-game stats, which means that my allies hit tanks that were unspotted. Score is 9-3. Still haven't fired my gun. I've done more spotting damage than I could possibly do by firing my gun, so it's been well worth it. Now, you notice that T-32 is an easy target for me. I could easily get behind him and fire my gun into his rear. Unfortunately, these tanks don't have a lot of rounds anymore since they were nerfed. Now that I'm spotted, going in, I decided to back off because the E-50 was a threat. If the E-50 had his gun pointed the other way, I would have gone in after that T-32. Score is 10-4. You got to keep them spotted because you want to know where they're going at all times. Now look at that T-32. His gun is pointed away from me. I could easily go kill him off right now. The T-32 is still an easy target for me. Both of them have their guns pointed away from me. And all I got to do is go to the left, and they won't be able to shoot back at me. And that's the game. Base was captured. This tank is the E-25. This is a German Tier 7 tank destroyer. The map is Malinovka. This is my best map for spotting. I get more spotting damage on this map than any other map in the game, number 2 Prokhorovka. Now, since this is a 1.0 map, there's a new position that I use, which is a little bush over here on this little hill. So I head straight for this hill. It looks like I went a little too far. But I did not get spotted. I spotted a lot of enemy tanks. And if you look at my spotting range, it's not... I don't have a full spotting range, but I'm going to get 5,300 spotting damage in this game. And this is with coded optics, probably with the recon and situational awareness, without the binocs. Spotted a lot of tanks, already up to 1,500 spotting damage. Now, contrary to what other people believe, there's a belief that you shouldn't rush out and spot enemy tanks because then your allies will never make it to the hill, but it's a false belief. You have to follow a certain procedure when you're a spotter. When you come out here and you spot all these tanks, you have to make the decision, are you going to remain here and try to spot the tanks at the base, or are you going to go to a secondary position to spot the tanks as they approach the hill? If you have 2 spotters on your team, which we appear to not have, then you would have one in this position and you'd have another one spotting the approach to the hill. Because I have lots of targets here, I'm going to remain here. As long as there's targets here, I'm going to remain here and spot them. I'm up to 3,140 spotting damage in the first 2 minutes of the game. 3,600 spot damage. There's a lot of tanks within my spotting range right now. So the smart thing to do is to just sit here and sit it out and let your tanks do as much damage as they can. Soften up the enemy team. Up to 4,300 spot damage. You can see that my team is starting to approach the hill. We've got 3 tanks, a Tiger, a Low, and a Challenger. We've got the SU-100, which is doing some proximity spotting. I'm up to 4,600 spotting damage. We still have tanks within our range. There's no reason to move. We sit here until those tanks are dead. So there's a SU-122-44 at the base that I'm concerned with. He is right over there. I don't know if I'm spotting him or not. Now he's out of the game. So now I'm at the point where it's time for me to advance and find a new position. Stay low when you want to remain hidden, and go up higher when you want to spot. Now remember that I don't have the greatest spotting range, so if one of my allies is in front of me, I'm no longer spotting for the team. One of the things that's interesting about this game, you'll notice that there's a Progetto 46. This was well before the tank was released, so one of the players on my team had some form of an advanced version before the tank was for sale and before people were able to get it in the event. It's the first time that I had seen it in game. So you can see that most of the enemy tanks are in the north, so I'm going to head north to help spot for my team. I'm not going to fire my gun if I'm out in the open, unless it's a kill shot. You'll notice that now he's behind a bush, so I can fire at him without him spotting me, but that doesn't mean that one of his allies won't be able to spot at me. Need to get into a better position to spot those tanks. Scores 10-5. Now, obviously, I'm going to reverse in order to defend myself. And that's the game for me. So the score at this point is 10-6. I did 259 damage, and I did 5,154 spotting damage. This was with an E25. This tank is the AMX 1390. This is a French Tier 9 light tank. The map is Malinovka. If you watch my games, you'll know that I like to make a run out into the field. However, it's less effective now because the number of bushes that you can head for has been reduced, and the spawn points have been moved, so that you have to go further in order to spot the enemy tanks. So because I was spotted, I'm taking my time moving into the spotting position. This is a very powerful position, even though it's not as deep as I like it to be. I prefer to be in this bush over here, but it's very difficult to get there nowadays, especially with the higher tiers. Everyone has a greater spotting range. They're going to see it coming. In a lower tier like tier 6 or 7, it's going to be a lot easier to get there. But what I do is I keep in mind, maybe at a later point I'll try and make a run for that bush. There used to be a bush over here where this little mound is, but now they've shrunk it so that it's too small to be used. So we can't do the effective spotting on this map that we used to be able to do. But you will notice that there's still a lot of enemy tanks that are within my spotting range. And we still don't know where that T-54 lightweight is. Chances are he's in a bush in front of me. So some people might ask, what do you do if the spotting dries up? One of the things you can do is you could head out this way, go through the town, and you could spot the tanks as they approach the hill. But we still have a lot of tanks that are near the base, so I don't think the enemy is going to go to the hill. I'm up to 2,500 spotting damage. $3,700 spotting damage. There's too many enemy tanks near their base. We're going to probably win the hill. We had that KV-13 went out in the open. We had a lot of guns that could have taken him out. Unfortunately, they failed to do so. So I decided to move, possibly because I saw the T-54 leave. And because I was spotted, I'm going to hide in this little ridge area over here where hopefully nobody can hit me. So it looks like the enemy did go to the hill. There's sufficient enemy heavy tanks at the hill that they may win the hill. I'm going to move up into a closer spotting position. The problem with this spotting position is that it's too low, and because it's too low, it's going to be difficult to spot the enemy tanks. Got to move to that safe position. Now my turret is jammed, and that's the type of repair you want to make sure you're safe first before you worry about repairs. So get into a safe position first. And this is one of the safe positions. Unfortunately, I was taken out of the game. So let's see if there's an alternative position. I could have moved behind this rock right over here. In fact, it may have been safer if I went behind that rock. But that's, you know, you live, you learn. Excuse me. Okay, so that's the game for me. Let's move on to the next. Okay, so I had to take a phone call. We'll get back into the game. The AMX 1375 was taken out of the game. As you can see, I'm still able to spot for my team, even though I'm not hidden in a bush. You don't have to be in a bush. The Progetto, I'm pretty sure they're going to take him out of the game. My allies are going to take him out. I'm going to advance the game a little bit. I'm up to 3,400 spotting damage. The smart thing to do is to stay on the base. If you get spotted, what I did was I went to a lower part because I was spotted, and I don't want him to shoot at me. Don't worry about taking damage. I got 3,600 spotting damage. Worry about winning the game. They're eventually going to take him out. I'm going to fast forward it. And there he is. That's the game. This tank is a Type 62. This is a Chinese Tier 7 light tank. The map is Malinovka. I'm going to get 3,600 spotting damage. We're going to have an easy win. You're going to see a new position. 3,600 spotting damage is very good for a Tier 7 tank. So what I'm doing right now is I'm heading straight towards the enemy to spot as many enemy tanks as I can. You'll notice that as I spotted that T-29, I started to move to the left. And the reason why is because if you spot somebody, you want to move away from them, not towards them. And I went in and I spotted 4 enemy tanks, which allows my allies to get some early shots in. They did 723 damage. Actually, it's up to 950 damage on that spotting run that I did. All 3 of those shots were on the heavy tank number 6, which appears to also be out of the game. Now this tank over here, this Progetto, he's going to be unable to take that position. He's going to try multiple times to go up there, and every time he's going to fail, and he's going to have to reverse. You're going to see him come up and go down and come up and go down. We're going to have an easy win in this game. What's going to happen is my team is going to win on the hill, and as they win on the hill, I'm going to help them as they advance down the field. You can look on the mini-map. You can see where I'm located on the mini-map, which is a pretty good position. It's not ideal. It's not exactly what I want. Some of the good things about this position, we don't know where all the enemy tanks are, but what we do know is that most of the enemy tanks are in the southeast area. So even though our SPG is vulnerable where he is, and there's going to be a tank that eventually is going to make a sweep around that way, there's not a lot of enemy tanks out there. And when you play the game, you want to play to be able to spot as many tanks as possible. So this is actually a really good position that's easy to play for spotting enemy tanks. And you can see that we're about to clean up on the hill. The enemy is capping the base. I'm going to take care of that later. I'm going to make a rush in, and we are going to decimate all the tanks that are on that base. So I'm hoping, I'm waiting for that final tank to be taken out of the game. As soon as he's taken out of the game, I'm going to reposition. We just lost our SPG, so 2 enemy light tanks have now made the sweeping move on our rear flank. So now that we've won the hill, now it's time for me to help my team advance. I want to be far ahead of my team. You don't want to be close to your team. I want to be so far ahead that they don't have to go anywhere and they can just fire their guns. We don't want my allies to be spotted. I'm going to take the risk. There's no reason why they should be spotting on their own. It's just a safe maneuver to go to a bush, turn on the binocs, and then advance, and keep on repeating. We've got 55 seconds left. I'm coming up with a plan to go spot the base. It says that there's 2 tanks on the base. Now there's 3. Very easy to spot them. I'm up to 1,600 spotting damage. Just got to be patient, let my allies take those tanks out of the game. The great thing about it is the enemy doesn't know the danger that they're in, that T-29 is not safe. The IS took out the T-29. You can look at where the IS is on the minimap. He had a clear shot, and he could probably go after that Cromwell also. I'm notifying my team that there's 1 tank in the game that has not been spotted, although he was just no, he's still unspotted. So there's 1 tank in the game that's still unspotted, and as I predicted, the IS did kill the Cromwell. So the Hellcat was finally spotted. Now the maneuver that I'm going to do is I'm going to sit on the cap, and I'm going to spot from the cap and snipe if I have to. There's no reason to go chasing after those enemy tanks. If I see that the enemy tanks are a threat to my team, then I will go scout them out. But right now, capping is a good strategy, even though it does take a long time to cap. That's not a good position. I just went there to be safe to see what was going to happen. Now I'm moving up into a spotting position, even though I'm out in the open. So we know where those 2 tanks are. We know where our allies are. want to keep those tanks spotted. You can see that the Progetto is far enough away that I can probably shoot at him without being spotted. Hello? Good. This tank is the FV3805. This is a British Tier 9 SPG, and the map is Malinovka. This game is going to show you the results of having bad scouting. And bad scouting means, or bad spotting, being unable to spot the enemy team, and the impact that it has on your game. Winning the game usually means being able to spot the enemy and being able to shoot at them without being spotted. And if you can do that, you can win lots of games. Spotting is very important in the game. And unfortunately, SPGs have a very small spotting range, and they're unable to spot for themselves or to spot for the team. So I decided that I was going to take up this position because I wanted to be able to support my tanks on the hill, because this is an encounter game. You want to avoid hitting tanks on the frontal armor. When you have a choice, you want to aim for the side armor or the rear armor, obviously. Especially tank destroyers tend to be more heavily armored on the front. This is going to be a side armor hit. That was 234 damage. And I stunned both vehicles. They're not going to be able to side scrape in that position. Unfortunately, I misjudged that tank. I thought he was going to continue driving forward, but he reversed and he avoided my shot. The T-95, if you aim for the front of the tank, you're probably not going to do any damage. So you want to try and hit it on the side or at an angle. Another miss. When you stun an enemy tank, it reduces their spotting range, it reduces their load time, and it reduces their aiming ability. So it's very important to stun tanks, especially because you impact their reload time. Now that was a poorly aimed shot. I assumed that he was going to stop when he got to the red line. I was wrong. He kept on going. I didn't give enough lead time on my shot. Now you're going to see on the T-95, I'm probably not going to do any damage, even though I'm likely to hit him. Unless, well, maybe I will damage him. Nope. So if you're not going to do any damage, then it doesn't make sense to take the shot. Artillery used to do a lot of damage. You used to be able to do 1,000, 1,500 per shot. You used to be able to one-shot a lot of tanks, but it doesn't do that anymore. So you have to be a lot more careful. You have to be a lot more picky with your shots. You'll notice that I picked to aim at that rear corner. I did 145 damage. I picked the rear corner so that if he stops, I'll at least hit the tank. He's a slow-moving tank. So on a slow-moving tank, you want to aim for the edge of the tank in the direction that it's moving. That was not aimed well. I aimed for the center of the tank and it was moving forward. I should have aimed for the front of the track. But he was moving slow enough that it didn't make that much of a difference. In the case when you have three tanks that are close, you want to aim for the tank in the middle. If you go for the tank in the middle, you have an increased chance of damaging multiple tanks and of stunning multiple tanks. The score is 5-3. we're really closing in on the enemy. You'll notice that our two spotters, the AMX 1305 and the Batchat 12T, are not in good positions. They're too far away, and we really need them to spot the tanks on the hill. The STRV is a lightly armored tank, so it's a good choice for being hit by the artillery. Now, the OHO is a good choice because it's a large tank. You're more likely to hit that tank. If you're a beginner, you want to aim for those large tanks. Score is 6-4. I got 1,155 damage. I haven't gotten a lot of stun damage, only 214. I am stunning the tanks, but my team is not hitting these tanks. And you can see our spotters are not really our light tanks are not doing a good job, and we really need them at this point. It's getting to be a critical point in the game. Score 6-7. You can see that our T-30 is being flanked. So I'm going to support my T-30. Unfortunately, now he's out of the game. Too little, too late. Prefer to hit the STRV. Now we have one spotter, the AMX 13105, and he's retreating. He should be taking up a strong spotting position, but he isn't. Now I'm in a bad position because I could easily be spotted. Perhaps I am, I don't know. I don't think I'm spotted. I have 6 suns. He was probably aiming for the Jag Panther. Oh, you know what? He probably saw the tree fall down, which is why he shot at me. So now I have to fall back. You can see the J Panther is falling back. The more he falls back, the more I have to fall back because I'm not in a safe position. I cannot spot a tank coming at me from the front. And our spotter is not doing a good job. So we're going to have a really tough game here. The UDAS has to also spot because he has the mobility, and he's failing to do it. He's sitting up in a sniping position. This is going to be a hard tank to damage. Unfortunately, I missed. You can see that the enemy artillery is taking shots at me, so I have to keep on moving. Now he knows where I am, and I don't want to leave this position. So every time I fire, I'm going to reposition. You got to take that shot as quickly as possible before he disappears. The score is 9-9. That was 288 damage. I got 1,400 damage. You can see that our scout tank is too close to the Allies. He should be out there scouting for us. I'm going to take a chance at hitting that chariot. Now I'm taking blind shots because our scout is doing too little too late. There's very few enemy tanks. We know where 3 of them are. The other 2 are SPGs. What the scout should have done, he should have gone to hunt down the enemy SPGs. It would have been easy for him to do so. That is a tier 10 tank, and you would think that he's a good player. It's very easy for him to swing around and find those SPGs. Score is 10-11. If we lose that scout, we're going to lose this game. I had to take a blind shot on that T-28 to protect that scout, keep him in the game. And the T-28, I think the T-28 knows that that scout tank is there because the T-28 was pointing someone in that direction. Now I'm taking a blind shot, which I shouldn't have to be doing. It should be easy for my ally to go and spot tanks, and he's failing to do so. Score is 10 to 11. I'm asking the AMX to go scout. Unfortunately, one of our allies drowned. So I guess the AMX took a wild shot into the base and was able to reset the cap. And look what's going on over here. I want to help my ally. But the SPG was able to kill him. Okay, so now the score is 13 to 13. We have the advantage. We have a light tank against 2 SPGs. All he has to do is drive through into the enemy SPG territory and spot those tanks, and we should win this game. But look at what he's doing. For some reason, he's coming to where I am. It's a bad positioning for his tank. I'm moving forward to get closer to the enemy so that I get more accurate shots. I'm taking up this position over here. You want to be as close to the enemy as possible. It takes less time to aim. Your shots will be more accurate. Now we have 3 minutes and 40 seconds left. He has plenty of time to go through all that enemy territory and find those SPGs. Will he do it? It sounds like an easy task. He's heading in the right direction. But you'll notice that he's not really heading towards a corner right now. Okay, maybe he is. And then he stopped. For some reason he stopped. I don't know why he stopped. It's unlikely that he was spotted first. We're running low on time and he's not advancing. He's asking me to cap. And I should have gone to the cap a little bit earlier, but it's too late to cap. Unfortunately, because it's in counter mode, it's too late to cap. So the AMX is now doing nothing. He's just sitting there doing nothing. And by sitting there and doing nothing, he's absolutely not doing anything for our team. He should be he's got 2.5 minutes left to go out and scout that corner and to run up the side into the corner, the north corner, and he's just sitting there doing nothing. I am heading to the cap, but I do realize we're only going to win if both of us get on the cap. Now the AMX is starting to return perhaps to the cap, but it's really not the right move. He should have gone out and found those SPGs. He would have spotted them first. We would have taken them out easily. Now at this point, if he doesn't get on the cap right now, we're going to lose the game. Let's see if he makes it. You'll notice... Okay, we do have the ability to cap at this point. There's 1 minute and 20 seconds left on the cap timer. We have 10 seconds to spare. We got to kill 2 SPGs. And there's one behind us. He's outside of my spotting range, so the light tank was able to spot him. Let's see if we can kill him. I'm unable to hit him from where I am, and I have to move because I was spotted. You'll notice that the light tank was hit by an SPG, and then I was just hit by an SPG. So we both got hit 2 separate shots. So I was able to take one out of the game. We got 30 seconds left. You can see that I do blame the AMX 13105. He did a horrible job spotting. Now he's going out into that corner, but it's really too little too late. He has 20 seconds left to find the enemy tank, and I don't think he's going to do it. I know for a fact he's going to fail to do it. And that shows you poor scouting and the impact. We could have won this game. This tank is the A-44. This is a Russian Tier 7 medium tank. The map is Malinovka. Now you'll notice that we don't have a spotter taking up a good spotting position, so I decided to go out and spot. Part of the reason why is because I can do a lot more spotting damage than I can do damage with my gun. Unfortunately, I got spotted, so I'm going to have to come up with a different strategy. But watch the strategy that I use. I am going to get 2,600 spotting damage in this game, which is more than I'd be able to do if I were firing my gun, even though I am top tier on a 357 matchmaking game. Or is it 357? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, this is 510 matchmaking. I'm going to keep trying to advance, but they're going to keep on spotting me, so I'm not going to be able to safely advance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take up an active spotting position. I'm going to go to where the rock is that would be on the encounter map. There's a little rock, and there's a little hill area, and I've got a relatively low-profile tank. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit there. Over here, I'm too far back to do any spotting, and I'm looking at my white circle, and I only see a few tanks within the range. So I'm worried that I'm not going to really be able to spot anything. So I'm going to advance to the rock that you see in the distance, and I'm going to get closer. I'm going to do some spotting for my team. We're going to do some damage. You'll notice that I have 2 repair kits. With Artie in the game, you have to keep moving. You have to stay as low as possible. This is one of the positions that you're going to park in, right here next to this hill. And there's another position, which is right here next to the rock. Those are the 2 positions. You have to gauge where do you think you're safer and switch between those positions. Now look at what that Cromwell B is doing. Unfortunately, he is going to make it through. But luckily I was able to spot him, and my team was unable to take him out quickly. I screwed up using the auto aim. I should have aimed manually. And I'm going to miss my opportunity. So I messed up 2 shots. He's not going to last forever, obviously. Eventually he'll be taken out. I've only got 500 spotting damage right now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep on taking up different positions over here. You'll notice that the enemy is really focused on me. A lot of incoming fire. When there's a lot of incoming fire, you want to disappear. But if you sit still, you might not spot anything. So you have to decide. You have to decide when to hide and when to peek. I'm up to 1,400 spotting damage. 1,600 spotting damage. Just barely missed incoming fire. I'm going to screw up something. I'll explain why. They know I'm here, and there's somebody watching me. You can see a tree fell down in the distance there. But what's going to happen is I'm going to try and line up a shot, and I'm going to sit there too long, and someone's going to snipe me. Now, you'll notice what I'm doing is I'm going to a different position, and the reason why is because an enemy cannot watch 2 positions at the same time easily. So by switching between the 2 positions, you make it less likely that they're going to hit you on a lucky shot. I want to hit that KV-85. So I just got spotted. They know I'm here. I don't understand why my allies haven't taken him out of the game yet. There's a Jagdpanzer behind me. Why didn't he take out that KV-85? I don't know. I didn't see any incoming fire. So I'm getting concerned. I want things to happen. I got a lucky shot in. Can I make it 2 lucky shots? I don't know. Looks like somebody hit him. Here I'm taking way too long. And the Su-152 was watching me, and he took me out of the game. And that was the right move. I am going to get 2,600 spotting damage. It was definitely the right move for the enemy team. You want to take spotters out of the game. I was able to do a lot of damage for my team, and you'll find that a lot of games are won based on spotting. If you can spot the enemy team and remain hidden, you're going to win the game. And if you look at the mini-map, you'll see that the enemy is winning. They've got a lot of tanks out there, and we don't have anybody that's able to spot. The Type 58 is not in a spotting position. Our light tanks are out of the game. So I did the best that I could, and like I said, it's unlikely I would have caused 2,500 damage with my gun. If I had a good game, I might have done 1,000 damage. So doing 2,500 spotting damage with this tank was the right move.